Chapter 105 of Chainsaw Man may just be my brand new favorite chapter of the entire series, and maybe of all time. That may sound like an hyperbole or a recency bias, and maybe, but there is something that I absolutely adore in this chapter, and it's all about how Fujimoto gives us this sense of dread throughout most of it as it builds up more and more. This is not the first time he does it, but before we move on, I need to remind you that spoilers are going to happen. So, one of the things that Chainsaw Man is very well known for is its spacing. It's very fast paced, with a lot of things happening before we barely have the time to process them. That helps the manga have this feel of chaos and insanity, as we barely have a moment to breathe and process the events before we have to deal with the next big thing. But not always. Sometimes Fujimoto takes his time, and it's in these moments that we really feel scared. Some examples of this are chapters 75 and 76, which the later half of the first and the first half of the later have the gun devil just essentially destroy everything. And while that happens very fast for the characters, we readers are left with a lot of pages to fully process and despair the destruction that this creature employs. But maybe a better example of what I mean with dread comes with my most hated chapter, chapter 81. Now, I've actually done a full video on this moment and why I love it and hate it, and a link for that will be in the upper corner, but the most important part is that most of this chapter is a simple walk to the door. Of course, the walk is leading to the death of a character, and the important part is that you're told this. You're told that at the end of this walk, someone is going to die, and then we have panel after panel, page after page. Even after they reach the door, we get to see Denji looking left and right and left, desperately buying time, slowly reaching for the door, which by itself lasts for panels. And then bang. Aki's death is horrible, but powers land in a very different but just as powerful way. And in chapter 105, Fujimoto does it again, but arguably even better. What I think is the genius of this chapter is that the real true reason for us to fear Yuko is only revealed at the very end, but we start fearing her far before that. The beginning of the conversation starts with arguably more complex paneling than the one we will see later on, as the characters chat about beverages and secrets. But once Yuko says that she needs to reveal a big secret, we shift. 2 panels of the sky, we can tell time is passing, and then the next page. This is not the first time Fujimoto does this kind of paneling. It feels like, especially since Goodbye Eri, an entire manga that plays out of this style, he's been trying to see what he can do, and probably for the most simple looking page style, he can do a lot. Chapter 103 used it to give us a quick succession of opinions that reads like bullet speed street interviews. 104 used it for comedy, as it really enhanced the interaction between our main characters, Denji and Aza. And finally, in 105 used it to really give us the feeling that Aza is not comfortable, and that this moment is taking a long time. First of all, contrary to Goodbye Eri, each panel is divided in 2, giving us the feeling that each page takes double the time to pass than it did in there. And contrary to previous usages in the last 2 chapters, there's so many panels in each given page. More than 4 or even 6, there's 10 in each page. The amount of panels really gives the feeling of a long time. And I say feeling because it's still fast to read, of course, but by separating them, your brain also does that, and it takes just a little bit more to go through. It also helps that half of the 20 total panels are silent, but the silent ones aren't even the ones right after Yuko's confession. Instead, we got 2 just before, as to give us a little moment before we are hit with it, but then the manga doesn't give us nor Aza a moment to breathe just yet. Instead, we are forced to continue the conversation while trying to simulate what was just said, and only afterwards are we given the time to process and the time to wonder what exactly is going to happen next. Is Yuko going to attack Aza? Is Aza going to attack Yuko? Is she going to run away or stay with her? And why? Why exactly did she do it? All these thoughts are passing through our head during these silent panels that leave our characters still. This is when we are hit with the double spread, which I think is one of the best executed double spreads in the entire manga, even if not the most visually appealing. And the reason for that isn't in just the impact in imagery that it has by itself, but rather by the heavy lifting the past 2 pages had. Moving forward, shadows start to appear in the characters' faces and expressions, making the next conversation feel a little bit darker and a little bit more eerie, as we get to understand just how insane Yuko is behaving. At this point, we are of course fearful and worried about Yuko's next action and role in the story, as we've been betrayed many times throughout Chainsaw Man, but she manages to outdone herself by showing that she knows more than we think. She knows about Aza's killings and about Yoru, and this is when it's revealed that she has made a contract with the Justice Devil. The Justice Devil just so happened to be the devil that Yoru, the War Devil, defeated all the way back in the first chapter of part 2, which means that they have all the reasons to want to destroy Aza. And of course, the chapter ends with Yuko asking Aza to not go to school tomorrow, which ironically fulfills the plan that Aza told Yoru at the beginning of this very chapter, to bring a devil to school to lure Denji. Leaving us with 2 weeks to wait and dread what's going to happen next, because it's not going to be pretty. And knowing Chainsaw Man, it will likely mean that Denji will end up possibly killing Yuko. We'll have to see. But while we wait, I have a couple more videos on Chainsaw Man. One should be appearing on your left, and on your right you have a playlist with all of them. And if you watched until here, thank you very much, and I'll see you next video.